Hey y'all, and welcome to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about what happened to Cleopatra's children. Now we all know the stories about Cleopatra, Mark Antony, and Julius Caesar, but what happened to their kids? That's what we're going to discuss today. So Cleopatra the Seventh, or as most of us would know her, Cleopatra was born in the beginning of 69 BCE to her father Ptolemy the 12th and an unknown mother. Now, it could have been Cleopatra the Fifth. We simply just don't know who her mother actually is. Cleopatra had four kids, one by Julius Caesar and three by Mark Antony. Now, Cleopatra's first son and only kid by Julius Caesar was known as Ptolemy Caesar, or as he's known to the people of Alexandria, Caesarion, or Little Caesar. He was born sometime in the middle of 47 BCE. He had become co ruler of Egypt in 44 BCE, the same year his father, Julius Caesar, was assassinated. Now, in 34 BCE, Caesarion appeared to the people of Alexandria with the title King of Kings, and Cleopatra was calling herself the Queen of Kings. After Mark Antony's defeat in 31 BCE, Cleopatra sent him to a seaport on the Red Sea. But he was lured back to Alexandria in 30 BCE by Octavian, where he was executed. Now, there's some stories that he was betrayed by his tutor and brought back to Alexandria, but in the end, it's still the same. He was back in Alexandria and he was executed, presumably after his mother's death in the same year. After all, he was the son of Julius Caesar, and Octavian couldn't keep him alive as he was a threat to his rule. Now, Cleopatra and Mark Antony met in 41 BCE, 3 years after Julius Caesar's death. Cleopatra and Mark Antony had three kids together: Alexander Helios, born in 40 BCE, presumably; Cleopatra Selene, also born in 40 BCE, obviously twins; and Ptolemy, born in 36 BCE. Alexander was probably named after Alexander the Great. One of the reasons the Ptolemaic dynasty was the rulers of Egypt. Now, Helios simply means sun. He's named after the ancient Greek god of the sun, Helios, obviously. Now, as I mentioned, historians believed him and his twin sister were born in 40 BCE. So, in 35 BCE, at the age of 5 or 6, depending on when he was born, Alexander Helios was proclaimed king of Armenia, Media, and Parthia. Now, the problem with this is that Cleopatra and Mark Antony didn't actually have control of these territories or these countries. They actually had another ruler at the time. And if you're not very good with geography, that's perfectly okay. Let me help you out and tell you that Armenia is nowhere close to Egypt or where Mark Antony or Cleopatra had a base of support. So they were basically claiming that their son was this king of these countries that they had absolutely no control over whatsoever. Side note, in case you like side notes, Cleopatra's body and burial has never been found. They're still looking for them, and we hope one day that her burial will be discovered, but until then, it is lost to history. After the defeat of their parents and their deaths, the siblings were taken to Rome. They were marched through the streets of Rome behind a wax effigy of their mother. The twins were made to wear thick gold chains as they marched behind their mother's wax effigy. Now, the chains were too heavy for the young children, who would have been about 11 at the time of this happening. That this happened? Reportedly, onlookers cried out for mercy on the children's behalf, which Octavian obliged. Now, Octavian left the children in the care of his older sister and Mark Antony's wife. It's unclear what happened to Alexander after this. He simply disappears from Roman records. He could have died of an illness or he could have lived out his life. We simply just don't know because it was never written down. He just vanishes. Before we get to Cleopatra Selene, let's discuss the youngest of Cleopatra and Mark Antony's children, Ptolemy, named after the second ruler of the Ptolemaic dynasty. Like his siblings in 34 BCE, he was made ruler of Syria, Phoenicia, and Cilicia. And just like his older brother, his parents were not in control of these territories. Now, like his older siblings, he was taken to Rome and marched behind his mother's wax effigy, just like his brother Alexander and his sister Cleopatra. Now, after arriving to Rome, he once again, just like his brother, simply disappears from record. We have no idea what happened to him. Now, some historians have claimed that he never actually made it to itself. In the history of Rome, Cassius Dio only talks about the twins, leading some to believe that Ptolemy never actually made the trip to Rome because he might have died alone. Lastly, let's talk about Cleopatra Selene. Right, so after she was taken to Rome, she was raised by Mark Antony's wife beside two of her half sisters. In 25 BCE, most likely 25 BCE, the dates are a little iffy. Cleopatra Selene married King Juba II and became Queen of Mauretania. Now, the couple had two kids together, a son, Ptolemy of Mauretania, and a daughter who was probably born in 10 BCE, but she did not survive. It's believed that her name was Drusilla. Now, it's unknown when Cleopatra Selene actually died. The common belief is that she died in 5 BCE of natural causes, but she would have been about 35 years old at the time. Now, it's believed that her death coincided with a lunar eclipse. An epigram composed by a Greek ambassador was written to mark her death, and it reads, "The moon herself grew dark, rising at sunset, covering her suffering in the night, because she saw her beautiful namesake, Selene, breathless, descending to Hades. With her, she had the beauty of her light in common, and mingled her own darkness with her death." Now, Cleopatra Selene could have died later. Some historians believe she might have been alive until 8 AD. There are coins dated back to 17 AD with her image on them. But this would mean that her husband, King Juba II, would have had to marry his second wife at the same time he was married to Cleopatra Selene, which is unlikely for a Roman king to have two wives at this time. But there's no one that will know for sure. These coins could have been minted in connection with her son when he was getting ready to take the throne. Now, no matter when she died, it is believed that Queen Cleopatra Selene and King Juba II were buried in the royal mausoleum of Mauretania. But their bodies have never been found there, either because of grave robbers or simply because this was meant to serve as a memorial and not actually a burial site. And that's what happened to Cleopatra's children. One was executed, two simply disappeared from historical records, and the fourth ended up married and became queen of a whole different country. I hope y'all enjoyed today's video. Put down in the comments what other people you would like to learn about. Bye. I totally forgot to mention earlier in the video that it seems that Alexander Helios and Ptolemy might have still been alive in 25 BCE when their sister Cleopatra Selene got married. Now, according to Cassius Dio, in his History of Rome, it seems that Octavian, now Augustus, had let the boys live as basically a wedding present to their sister. So it seems that they may have still been alive in this time period. We simply just don't have any kind of records of what they were doing or anything like that. Totally forgot to mention it. Added it on to the end. This is actually goodbye. Bye.